In my own understanding, there should be 12 Kumbh Melas. Why Guru is important and why sun and moon and Guru's position in the sky is used to calculate Kumbh Mela, we'll come to shortly. Self-inflicted nonsense, S-I-N. So there is no such concept in our own tradition about sins. But what generally it means here is that you will be able to wash away a lot of your unwanted karmic residual energy that is stored in your body-mind complex. This is seen by the Jnana Chakshu of Narada. And Narada understands that there is no way these two brothers can reconcile. And it is also beyond him to bring them to any kind of understanding. Shri Shambho Ramanatha. Welcome to another episode of Shiva Purana. A little recap as to where we stopped. In the last episode, we saw that the Samudra Manthana, the churning of the Milky Ocean, was done, and Amrita had come out along with a lot of other gems. And we also saw how the Daityas and the Devas had divided the treasures of the ocean. And when finally Dhanvantari, the god of Ayurveda, later as we know him as the deity of Ayurveda, brings out the Amrita, both of them, the Devas and the Danavas, they start fighting for it. And we saw how in Shiva Purana it says that Rahu picked up the pot of nectar and started flying in the sky. But of course, there are many other stories. Some say it was Jayanta, the son of Indra, who picked up the pot of nectar and flew into the sky. Many versions. But we will stick to Shiva Purana. In the Shiva Purana, it is Rahu, the commander-in-chief of the demon army, who picks up the pot of immortality, of nectar, or the nectar of immortality, Amrita, and starts flying into the sky. Of course, nobody is going to be, watching without doing something. So everybody jumps after him. Nobody fights silently. If you notice, every time you fight, it is always accompanied with bad words, loud noises. So in between the tussle that is happening in the skies, there is also a huge amount of, banter that is going on between the Devas and the Dhanavas. And it is said, see, Shiva Purana says 4 places on earth received nectar because of the fight between the Devas and the Danavas. When they were fighting, a few drops fell on 4 places on earth. And in between, it didn't happen like it fell at once. In between, there are many dialogues, which I think is not very relevant to us right now. But these places are. So, before we go into how this happened, we must understand we still celebrate this churning of the ocean story with what we call as Kumbh Mela. Okay, there are again many reasons why it's called Kumbh Mela. One of the reasons why it's called Kumbh Mela is because Kumbha means a pot, the pot of nectar. And every 12 years, I'm sure you're aware of it, the world's greatest gathering of people for a religious, spiritual reason takes place in India in 4 places. The first place that is mentioned in the Shiva Purana is Haridwar. Or Haridwar on the banks of river Ganga. It is said that a few drops of nectar of immortality fell at Haridwar, and when the Jupiter enters the constellation of Aquarius, around Chaitra, January, from Jan to April, there's a huge gathering of monks, sannyasis, mathadishas, spiritual gurus, and lay people who come and take part in this bathing festival, because it is considered that when you bathe at the Kumbh Mela, you receive the blessings of the amrita. You receive the nectar of immortality, and all your sins are washed away. Of course, it still goes on, and it is said that about 5 crore people, I think that's about 500 million people, they gather every year at Haridwar, not every year, every 12 years at Haridwar, when Jupiter is in Aquarius. The second place where the nectar of immortality is supposed to have fallen down, dropped on ground, is Prayagraj, the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna rivers. Here the Kumbh Mela happens in Magha month, when the Jupiter is in Aries and the sun and moon are in Capricorn. I will take some questions which are coming in. Let me complete this story now. So this happens in the month of February, end of Jan and February in Prayagraj. Again, this is one of the largest gathering of people in the world. Happens every 12 years. The third place where a few drops of amrita is supposed to have fallen is Triambakeshwar in Nasik in Maharashtra, on the banks of river Godavari. It is also very close to the origin of river Godavari. This happens in August, the Bhadrapada Masa, where Jupiter is in Leo. And the fourth place where the Kumbh Mela happens is Ujjain, which is in Madhya Pradesh. It is also considered to be ground zero, zero longitude and zero latitude, the Greenwich meridian of the world according to the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Ujjain. The river where the bathing festival happens is Kshipra. It happens in the month of Vaishakha, which is spring. Very hot. This is one of the hottest Kumbh Melas. This happens when, again, Jupiter is in Leo. So one happens when Jupiter enters Leo, and the other, that is Triambakeshwar Nashik Kumbh Mela. And the other one happens when the Jupiter is moving out of the constellation Leo. So there are two questions that I've received. One is, what do you mean by sins getting washed away? See, in our own tradition, the Nata tradition, we do not believe in sins. Sin is basically anything that bothers you, anything that gives you trouble. Sin is something that is painful, chronic or acute, bodily or mentally or emotionally. Self-inflicted nonsense, S-I-N. So there is no such concept in our own tradition about sins. But what generally it means here is that you will be able to wash away a lot of your unwanted karmic residual energy that is stored in your body-mind complex. Sin for us is washed away by regular doing of Mahakriya, by elevating your Kundalini and taking it towards your Sahasrara. This is how we get rid of it. Does it help going to these Kumbh Melas? Definitely, because you meet a lot of, adept rishis, you meet a lot of sannyasis, you meet a lot of people who are doing rigorous practices. You get to see the entire conglomeration of various Indic cultures, languages, traditions. You get to understand the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, along with one of the other ancient Sanatana Dharma, which is Sikhism. There are also some Buddhists and Jaina monks who visit. Overall, it is a festival of religion and spirituality, and definitely there's a lot of energy exchanges, and the constellations are favorable for transformation. So it is always worth visiting the Kumbh Mela. And by Guru's grace and God's plan, maybe it is possible for many of us to get rid of our residual karmic entanglements. So that is what I understand when they say sins are washed away in the Kumbh Mela. What is Jupiter's significance in Kumbh Mela? Very good question. Jupiter is Guru. And the gathering, at the Kumbh Mela is primarily of gurus and shishyas. It also serves as a common meeting place for all the wandering monks of various orders. There are Shaiva orders, there are Vaishnava orders, there are Sikh orders. Now there is also a transvestite order of monks and rishis who gather. So a lot of things like who is going to head a particular mutt or a monastery, who is going to move from which part of India to another. These kind of decisions are also taken at the Kumbh Mela. So it is primarily the gathering of gurus. And Jupiter is considered to be the guru of all the devas. So when he moves into every constellation, various Kumbh Melas are held. I am also of the opinion that since it takes Jupiter 12 years to move from one constellation to another, it takes 1 month for Sun to move from one constellation to another. That's why we have months, but in the case of Guru, it's a very slow planet. He takes 12 years to move around. In my own understanding, there should be 12 Kumbh Melas. Why Guru is important and why Sun and Moon and Guru's position in the sky is used to calculate Kumbh Mela, we'll come to shortly as we progress in this session. But you must understand that there must have been 12 places. For example, we have a place called Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu. I'm sure that there was a Kumbha that was held every 12 years there. Maybe we have forgotten, maybe somebody forced it to be shut down. Tirumukonlu, which is in Karnataka, the confluence of Kabini and Kaveri, also holds Kumbh Melas. Not very popular, but there is a small tiny Kumbh Mela that happens in Karnataka also. So we have about 6. I'm sure there are other Kumbhas. We need to have more deeper and wider research as to which are the other 12 places where these bathing festivals and spiritual gatherings and religious gatherings happen. So why am I telling you about this? So we see the residual effect of the churning of the ocean even today, because these combined Kumbh Melas actually attract about 5% of the entire Hindu population of India, which is really, really huge, isn't it? So we are still keeping this story, we are keeping alive this part of Shiva Purana, very active in this great country of ours. So what happened? So they're still fighting, and everybody is, running after the other. The whole reason, if you remember, why this Samudra Manthana, the churning, took place initially was to broker a truce between these two brothers, isn't it? The Daityas and the Devas. The opposite has happened. Now, Shiva is sitting at Kailasa meditating, and Vishnu is gone underground, he is resting. Brahma is a very non-violent, peaceful God. Somebody has to intervene. The job is kind of taken up by sage Narada, the Devarishi. So Devarishi Narad appears and puts a pause on the fighting and the swearing that was happening in the skies. I say, listen, would you stop? What are you guys doing? The whole purpose of Samudra Manthana was so that you stop your fighting. What are you doing now? They stop the fight for a moment. And of course, each of them is blaming the other person. The Devas say the Danavas don't want to give them the Amrita pot, don't want to share the immortality nectar. And of course, the Rakshasas, the Danavas say, no. You are the ones who are denying us of our share. Narada finds it difficult to understand why brothers are fighting amongst themselves. And then through his Jnana Chakshu, he looks into why this happens. There's a very small side story, which I love. You remember that there were 13 wives of Kashyapa. I told you that Kashyapa Rishi married 13 daughters of Daksha. And the first one, the eldest of all the sisters, was Diti. The second sister is Aditi. And I told you that Diti's children turn out to be the Daityas, the Rakshasas, the demons, the dark creatures. How did this happen? Aditi is a beautiful, agyakari kind of wife who listens to her husband, who takes the husband's words as Veda Vakya, as rules to be followed all the time. But Diti isn't like that. Diti is very haughty, H-A-U-G-H-T-Y. She's conceited, she's egoistic. She wants to be treated like a princess, even at an ashram. Initially, she refuses to wear, clothes like this, which we wear because we are Rishikula. And she wants to be decked up all the time in gold and diamonds and what have you. She wants palaces to live in. She wants a lot of comfort. On the other hand, Aditi becomes the model wife for Rishi Kashyapa. She sleeps on straw mats. She wears the Kashaya Vastra, the khaki uniform that all rishis used to wear. She is forever in the service of her husband. So one day when Aditi, the good wife, and Kashyapa are having a very deep spiritual conversation, Aditi feels very jealous that he is giving a lot of time to the younger sister. She interrupts them, and Shiva Purana says she forcefully copulates with sage Kashyapa. See, it is the duty of every rishi to fulfill the sexual desires of his wife. He can never say no. This is one of the rules that all rishis have followed. But the timing of this copulation, the timing of this union is wrong, because she asks him to do it in the evening Sandhya Kala, the dusk. And it is not recommended. He resists, but she forcefully gets pregnant. And this is when Rishi Kashyapa tells her that her children are going to be Rakshasas. Because during the Sandhya Kala, the evening Sandhya, the dark forces are active. Rishi Kashyapa says that the ghosts and goblins and pishachis and these kind of people, these kind of energies travel during the evening time. Let's not do it now. However, she gets pregnant, and you know what happens after. This is seen by the Jnana Chakshu of Narada, And Narada understands that there is no way these two brothers can reconcile. And it is also beyond him to bring them to any kind of understanding. When Narada is trying to come up with a solution, at a distance they see a beautiful, the most elegant damsel who dances her way towards this group of Daityas and Danavas. Everybody is mesmerized. She is beautiful, cute, sexy, sensual, everything in one go. She is the most attractive female in all of entirety. The way she walks, even snakes will get mesmerized. The way she talks, her voice is more sweet than even Krishna's flute. The way she sees you, you would melt, become a lump of lust. Who are you? The only person unaffected by this is Devarishi Narada. Who are you? Mata. He is the only one who can see her as a mother. The rest are drooling. Imagine yourself as the Devas or the Danavas, and you see this woman, beauty incarnate. And he says, you tell me, Narada, you are the all-knowing Rishi. Narada says, I know that you have been called by many names. And right now you're appearing in front of us as this beautiful damsel. It is better that you introduce yourself. He says, I am a Swachhanda Nari. Swachhanda Nari means a woman who is anchorless, a temptress, an enchantress, a nymph, a royal nymph, a grand nymph. There are no words to explain. Swachhanda means anchorless, that she cannot be controlled. She will sleep with anyone, she will entice anyone, she will tempt anyone, and most of her being is mostly sensual and of lower pleasures. Even though she introduces herself as an enchantress, temptress, she calls herself Mohini. Mohini, that woman who is creating moha, who is creating lust and love in you. She is handed over the responsibility of ending the dispute between the Devas and the Danavas, and Narada disappears. Of course, we get to know that Mohini is none other than the female incarnation of Vishnu. Many of us have heard of Vishnu's 10 incarnations, Dashavataras. People who know a little deeper know of his 24 incarnations, but none of them mention this wonderful incarnation called Mohini. So Vishnu also comes as a woman, and we all know that he is always towards dharma, towards righteousness, and he does what he does best, supports the good energies of Devas. So he dances around, takes the pot of nectar, convinces both the team that he is or she is the best person to distribute it, creates a beautiful palace in mid-air, creates wonderful seating for them. Not 5-star, not 7-star, not 10-star, infinite stars are created around the palace.